Hello, Johnny here again. This is, well, it's part 11 of tutorial 35. So, and in this tutorial, we're going to add the fuel flow control. So, once you've run out of fuel, we're going to stop the lander being able to fire its boosters. Now, in the previous video, I had a bit of an issue when I added the flow control, and the problem was, and it was so simple, I was watching the video back and I'd forgot to put the indexer in, so all it was doing was picking out the first one, so it was always running through that. It was never running through anything else. So I'm just going to show you that it's working. So you can, so I'm not pulling the wool over your eyes. Thank you very much, Microsoft. Go away. Go away. Go on, go away. Why doesn't it want to go away? Go away. I better find something off now. Anyway, so we will run it. Yeah, go away. And now you're going to see that you're going to see that it's going to do the crash scene, because that's what it wasn't doing. It was just going a bit wrong. I couldn't understand. It was late as well. Here comes the excuses anyway. Right. So we're going to let it go and come down. And it was the crash routine. Here we go. There you go, done. And now it's in the bit where it's waiting for me to press a key, yeah? So, that's return, wasn't it? Was it return? Can't remember. Oh, fire. Fire. Is it that one? No, must be that one then. No, that one. There we go. So it comes down, boom. Press fire again, it starts. Now what we're going to do now is see that this here, right? This is the fuel gauge. And what I want to do is I'm going to let it run down. Up it goes. Right. Downward motion is increasing. Press the thingy button again. And now we're into the red. And what I want to do is, as soon as it hits 0, there, I want it, so when I press it, it doesn't carry on. Alright, so that's what we need to add this time, is the fuel flow control. So we need to go into this one, read update input variables. So that's going to be game lander, I think. Here we go. So it's this fuel consumption bit, yeah. And what we need to do is that we need to test the fuel consumption is not 0. So what we can't do is we can't do any of this if the fuel consumption becomes 0. So we're looking at, so if we go to GM, game memory, fuel consumption. So this is where we are applying the fuel consumption. So what we need to do is we need to test the fuel consumption bar value, and if that is 0, we've got to bypass the actual control. We've got to bypass it so it doesn't do anything. So the best place to do this is as soon as we've done the input. We get the input and we've done the test for the left, but we don't want to do the test. So what we want to do here is we want to actually make sure that we are not running out of fuel. And the best way of doing that is just, because if you think about it, if we press the fire button left and right, it's going to do the thrusters. So we shouldn't even look at the joystick. We shouldn't even waste the processing power looking at the joystick. So what we should do is right at the very start here is we need to, let's load in the memory pointer for the fuel, which is this one. And what we need to do is compare it. Well, we don't need to compare it. We should be able to do with branch if minus. Well, branch if plus. That'd be better. Branch if plus 2. If it's a plus value, because remember, two's complement. A positive value, bit 7, the most significant bit is not set. Negative value, the most significant bit is set. So what we want to do is, because there's an awful lot of code here, doing a branch if minus to bypass it won't work because there's probably too many bytes. So what we need to do is we need to do a branch if positive to here and then jump to the end, which will be the branch if minus. Okay, so branch if positive to at get input and then jump to input finish, because if we've run out of fuel we shouldn't need to test the input. So at get input. So let's just check this. If we load the, well, in fact we could load anything and then do a branch if minus, but it's best to do the accumulate. So load will set the 0 and the negative value, so we don't need to do a compare. Branch if plus, if it's plus, fine, do the input and carry on. If it's a minus, which means it's gone past 0, it's a negative number, jump to the finish. Right. Now, I think this will work, but I think we'll have a slight problem. Which is not a problem at all. Just need to put a little bit of code in. If what I think it's going to do is going to do it. And of course, I did it again. Tried building the wrong program. Here we go. So we'll hit fire. Let's run this bar down. So it's going to go off the page. Can't let it go too high or it'll come back at the bottom. Come on. Come on. Here we go. That's it. Right. No, 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 it's going to hit. Oh, we hit. Poo. Let's try it again. Right, let's send it out the way a bit. Right, let's fire it up. Don't hit. Oh. Oh, it's leaving the flame behind. We'll have to look at that. Right, let's do that. We'll now do it. Running it down. Running the fuel down. So here we go. So boom, and it's not working. So we need to know what that number is. And I thought we was taking it away. Let's have a look. Oh, we're adding. Right. We're adding. So what's the number we're adding? Hang on. Let's see what the setup is. Right, setup GB, game bars, setup fuel and speed bars. So what are we setting it at? Whoa, 96. Could be. Yeah, it could be. 12 times 8. It's 96, isn't it? Get my trusted calculator out. Yeah, 96. So we're testing for 96. Right. Yeah, phone. So let's change this. Right, so we're saying compare with hash. Oh, where's the hash on this keyboard? No. Well, I've got a new keyboard, don't know where the hash is. There it is, 96. It's always going to be 96 because what we're going to do with the different levels, we'll have different rates of fuel usage. So compare with 96. So we just do the greater than, less than. Oh. Brain's gone. So less than, I think it's carry clear, branch carry clear. Oh dear. Shouldn't do these videos late at night when I've had a right. Yeah, branch of carry clear if it's less than. So branch carry clear. Come on. Branch carry clear to get input, else go to input finish. So we'll try that. That should sort it out. So instead of subtracting, we're actually adding. Okay, let's try again. Here go. Let's do the same thing as we did before. Let's move it over so we get some distance. That's it. Put the brakes on. Let it run down. Try and straighten it up a bit. Right, now we're in the red. Let it come back down. And so what should happen is if we run out, we shouldn't be able to get a flame anymore. Boom, there we go. So we can't press it anymore, it's not letting us do it. But it's not updating the velocity values. Ah, right. That was a bit of a... Right, so we're not updating the velocity values. So what we need to do is... So we add, subtract. Right, so where's the velocity values? So that's doing the thrust. Right, so that's where we need to go then. Input processed. So instead of input finished, input processed. There we go. So we don't look for the control, but we have to update the velocity figure. Yeah. Okay. So we update the velocity figure. Yep, that looks like we're alright. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Right. So we'll do the same again. Get it moving over. Slow it down on that way. Hit the thrust. Should be alright, should be alright, should be alright, should be alright. Oh, look at that, just before. Okay, keep hitting the thrust until we run it down. Let's go. Right, so we've run out. That's it. We've run out. And the vertical velocity is now updating properly now. Yeah, I can see that the fuel bar's gone a bit funny, but we can easily sort that out. And that the fact that the thrust is still on. So we're not getting any inputs. Boom. Right. First things first, that the thrust was still on. So we could, instead of no input, so we could here, right? So we'll do fuel ran out. Okay, so we'll go there instead, which will reset all the sprites and still perform the update. Okay, but we also need to reset the fuel counter. So we'll do LDA #90 96 and we'll store that in fuel bar value. Hopefully that will make it 0. If not, we may have to make it 95. But we'll see in a minute. We'll just run it there. Wrong file, that's the one. Program run. Right. Right, let's get this over there. That's it. We'll slow it down. Hit the thrust. Go on. Slow down. That's it. Up we go. Run out of fuel. That's it. It's gone. We're updating. Now ignore that it's coming back off there because we haven't tested for the limits of the screen. Oh, look at that! Nearly hit the background there. So now it's coming back down. And I'm still pressing fire. Nothing. Boom. There we go. Right. So we need to sort this out. So I think we need to put a 95 in there, because I think 96 moves on to the next bar. So we'll put 95 in there. Program file run, and that should, I think, should sort that out. Here we go. So we'll do the same thing again. Move it over. Straighten it up. Hit the thrust. Here we go. So we're about to run out. Here we go. Run out. Boom. Right. So that's a bug in itself because it's still reacting. And that's because we've set it to 95. So we need to test here for 95. Right. Let's do that again. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, no, wrong one. F5. Yep. Right, let's move it over so we don't collide at the bottom. And we'll slow it down. Hit the main thrusters. Come on. Come on. Come on. Stop going that way. Come on. Come on. There we go. Right, so we're running out of fuel. Bang! Run out of fuel. That's it. I'm hitting the controls. We're not getting anything. And so we're gonna crash. There we go. Right. Boom. There we go. Right. So we've successfully added the fuel flow control. And so what's going to happen is for each of the levels, because they're going to be different planets, so we're going to have different fuel usages. So if we have more gravity, we're going to have to use more fuel to do that. And so the fuel calculation is going to be different for each planet. We're still going to have 96 units of fuel because the lander can't have a big fuel tank, and it just means you have to be a bit more sparingly. So for the low gravity places, don't need to use as much fuel on the thrust. So this will allow us to have easy, medium, hard difficulties, as well as the different levels will get progressively harder because we'll change the fuel thrust values and all that jazz. But the fuel tank will always stay at 95 or 96 if you include 0. Right, it's 26 minutes on the clock, so I will say my standard thing is, if you like this, click that like button. If you didn't like it, fine, hit that dislike button. Always leave me a comment, because I'll try and answer every one of them. And if you'd like to support this channel, please consider becoming a patron of mine. All the money raised in the Patreon always comes back to this channel and is used on the channel. Right, I will see you in the next video. Video. Take care. Bye. I'd like to thank all the patrons that are contributing to my channel. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now. Thank you very much.